Sports Network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into a Thursday edition. I had to stop for a minute. Thursday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig with you alongside Mr. Ty Bartell, and we are live 12 to 2 as always. And today we have a fun show, Ty. We have Eric Simeon, the head coach of the boys soccer team over at Boardman. He's going to stop by at 12:30 to talk about their huge win over Howland on Tuesday night. What a big win, and we're excited to hear from him.
Yeah, absolutely, as it was no doubt one of the legendary wins in the area this week, too, as Howland's impressive streak in both the regular season and consecutive games came to an end because of the Boardman Spartans soccer program. So definitely excited to talk about kind of the game plan and strategy. And if the book is out on Howland, I don't think Coach is going to want to give away too many of his secrets to the game, but curious to go in depth and in the head of Coach a little bit and see what the game plan was going up against that very, very talented Howland Tiger squad.
And then you could say our Thursday is going to turn grand at 1:15 because we have a member of the 1,000 Assist Club coming on at 1:15. Maggie Pavlansky from Lakeview will be hopping on, and we're excited to talk to her about her career milestone that she broke on Tuesday against on Monday against Canfield.
Yeah, exciting to have another player on, too, as we try to get more of these player profiles. But, yeah, another significant milestone, as it seems like there's a lot of volleyball talents in the area that keep hitting milestones this year.
There were some other career milestones hit last night in the area. Angelina Rotuno from Cardinal Mooney gets her 1,000th career assist, and we couldn't be more proud of her. You know, I've been able to watch her a couple of times and do a couple of Mooney games, and she earned every assist she got. I'll tell you that much. That girl is always going after everything that she possibly can. And what a fun volleyball player to watch. So not shocked at all that she was able to get 1,000 career assists last night in Cardinal Mooney's win over Springfield 3-0.
Yeah, and I mean, that brings us to our fan question of the day. Have you ever been in attendance for a school record that has been broken, and or if you haven't, a milestone? Who was it? What sport? And when was it is the biggest question I think we have for you today. So with all these milestones and all these record holders and everything going on around the area in a multitude of sports this year, our biggest question is, have you ever been in attendance for either someone who has broken a record or reached a career milestone? Who was it and when was it?
Then to just go over that game, Mooney won in 3, 25-16, 25-22, 25-16. Scavino led the Mooney offense with 14 kills on the night. Rotuno, who got her career milestone, she finished with 29 assists and 13 digs, so she also added a double-double to her career milestone night. Elena Francis led the defense with 16 digs. Maria Fire had 3 blocks. For the Tigers, Maddie Lesnick had 6 kills. Sammy McKim had 13 digs, and Sarah Pontius set up the Tigers' offense pretty well. 14 assists for her. Mooney will be back in action tonight as they travel to Boardman. Springfield will stay at home. They will host Jackson Milton. I'll be there for that game. So Springfield Jackson Milton will be on YSNLive.com tonight.
Yeah, we're excited too to have a multitude of games too on the network as we get excited too for our Friday night, which it feels like Christmas is every Friday here at YSN during the football season as we get all geared up for one night of the week, and that one night of the week is just an explosion coming at you starting in the morning.
If Friday nights are Christmas, does that make like this Santa's workshop? Because
This is Christmas Eve, man. That's why we do the previews and everything. It gets us all excited and giddy for tomorrow.
does this make YSN HQ Santa's workshop in the North Pole?
Yeah, there you go.
Beaver Local, they were off for over a week, but it didn't phase them one bit. They get the win over Steubenville in straight sets, 25-9, 25-17, 25-16. You look at Emma Joseph had 19 assists. Brooke Talbot had 11 kills, 6 assists. Elizabeth Kowalski, 9 kills, and Leah Ricardo had 5 kills. Grace Hill had 8 kills. Lexi Schreiber had 7 assists. And the Beavers will go at home tomorrow, well, tonight, I should say, against Oak Glen. And then you look, Sarah Lowe had something to say about it. After being off for over a week, our athletes from freshman through varsity came out tonight ready to execute. It was a positive to see the growth from getting quality reps in the gym. So freshmen got to win, their JV got to win, and their varsity got to win. Beaver Local sweeps tonight, and Sarah Lowe was very proud of the ability to go out and execute after a week off.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, again, we already have kind of patted the back of the Beaver Local program, and we'll do it a little bit more with what Coach Lowe has been able to do. And I mean, you talk about sweeping programs, you're talking 3 different programs at 3 different levels, and everyone that's bought into a program plays that Beaver Local style of volleyball and is all having success in their own right at it, all the way down from the freshman all the way up through the varsity level, and even before that, I'm sure too, if you look at the middle schools as well. Just again, one of those, if you want to know how to build a volleyball program, look no further than Beaver Local.
Okay, so we got a comment from Twitch that says, I wish I felt like Christmas every Friday. Well, hey, all you have to do is hop on to ysnlive.com. You'll get to feel like Christmas all the time. I feel like Faith Hill.
Yeah, we make sure it's Christmas every Friday here on YSN. We pack.
I found you Christmas. It's right here at YSN. You know,
we'll even have Anthony sing a rendition of "I Found You Christmas" tomorrow morning.
Wait a minute. I did not agree to that. I don't know if I would be. Faith Hill might come out and make a trip to East Palestine and throttle me if I did that. Ugh.
Oh man, you're not up for the "I Want You Christmas" or "I Love You Christmas" song, Anthony. I think you'd be great for it. I think it would open up our Friday very well. Looking forward to the game.
Not to mention the copyright claims we'd get at Wazoo.
You got to just put one of the helmets on that you like putting on every Friday, and then you could sing it. No one will see your face. you could just let the pipes go.
Oh man, Heartland Christian got the win in 5 sets. DJ Oakley was there for the exciting game over East Palestine. The scores there: 25-19, 10-25, 25-23, 19-25, 15-7. So a real back and forth battle as Heartland won the first set. East Palestine dominated the second. Heartland comes back with the close third set. East Palestine comes back, wins set 4, and then Heartland comes back and gains momentum and gets set 5 victory, 15-7. Emma Hall got the player of the game. And the stat sheet here, I mean, it was a little bit of everything. She had 22 kills, 7 aces, 30 digs, and 29 serve receives, which just means perfect passes to the setter where you're getting under the ball on a serve and not letting the ball go out of play. So 29 of those for her team. Lauren Mayasek chipped in with 10 kills, 4 aces. Jordan Webb had 29 digs for the Lions as well. East Palestine, Mackenzie Parker, 15 kills, 16 assists, double-double for her. Sophia Foster had 15 points, a pair of aces and a block, and Ma Ali had 9 points, 3 aces, and a block as well. Ellie Berger celebrated her birthday. Happy birthday, Mrs. Berger, yesterday. 18 digs, 9 kills, and a block. So Bulldogs are 8-4. They return to action tonight against Columbiana. Heartland's 5-6. They will take on Alliance and Crestview on Saturday in a tri-match.
And I mean, just another one of those great 5-set matches. And you see how good East Palestine's program is. However, what we saw too, Heartland being able to battle it out, even though they got dominated too in that second set. And I tell you what, even though you win the first set, anytime you get dominated 25-10, it's really, really hard as a coach, as a player, to try to get your girls and get your team going again, saying, hey, we have another few sets to win. So kudos to Heartland for able to be mentally tough enough to react and come back and win that one in 5 sets, even after losing in the fashion they did in set 2.
And I've seen this isn't an official stat. I'm just pulling this number out of my head, but like 90% of the time, the team that wins the 4th set wins the match, because either you clinch it in 4 or you take that momentum from the 4th set. And momentum is so important to start in the 5th because it only goes to 15. You don't really see a lot of teams lose a 4th and then go back and win the 5th. So props to Heartland for bouncing back from that so quickly. You can't afford a slow start in that 5th set. They didn't get it 15-7. They win the 5th set and clinch that match.
Yeah, and I mean, kudos to Heartland, too, beating a very good East Palestine volleyball program. And I mean, it's good for their program, keeps them in the loop, too. And come tournament time, all those big wins are going to help.
Absolutely. One more report, score to report, and then we'll get off to our high school football previews that we do every Thursday. We just want to give a shout out to Lisbon Volleyball. They went in on the road to Toronto, played really hard, got really competitive scores, but were unable to kind of solve the puzzle that the Red Knights were. They lost in 3, but these scores all close: 23-25, 20-20, 20-25, 21-25. Lisbon starting to improve. Eliza Baker had 8 kills, 14 digs. Maya Emmerling and Kelsey Burns both had 4 kills, and McKenna Daly had 20 digs. Lisbon returns to action tonight as they will host United. So Lisbon, I mean, that's a big thing, going on the road to Toronto on a Wednesday night and competing and really making it a tough night for Toronto. You don't get the win, you get swept, but all 3 sets very competitive. For a 2-9 team, a lot of growth from the Blue Devils.
Yeah, and what I mean, too, what we've seen, too, a lot of teams have been able to sort of go for that improvement, too, halfway through the season. We've seen a lot of teams in a multitude of sports kind of turn the corner, and I think you kind of got to credit, or not credit as much as fault COVID last year for giving some of these teams a slow start, too, because it really feels like we had an 18-month off season for all sports. Because last year we were glad we had sports, and it was something to give those seniors, but that didn't feel like high school sports. Let's just be quite frank with it, because we were missing out on the thousands of fans that are in attendance across high schools every single night. So missing that, as well as just the restrictions that were in place, definitely made it feel a little bit different. So a lot of these teams, I don't blame them for having a little bit of jet lag to start this season and trying to get back into a sense of normalcy again. So we see some of these teams kind of now finding their footing halfway through, and I think the Blue Devils are no exception to that.
Absolutely. And the Blue Devils once again in action tonight, hosting East Palestine. You look at you talked about being able to bring crowds in, and we talked about career milestones to lead off the broadcast. Now they get to have those moments in front of full capacity crowds, which has got to be a bonus.
Yeah, and what we see too is that, I mean, the crowds have played such a huge part in high school sports for so long, and I don't think we ever really took the time to appreciate how much the crowds do play a part. But now I think we are seeing full on how much the crowds do play a part, because this season with full crowds, how many teams, how many players have turned it up and had such significantly different seasons as compared to last year too. And I mean, you talk about just supporting these local athletes, much that that really plays into a part of their development and growth as well. So that's why I say in all sports, get out there and support your local athletes, because when you have a full crowd in attendance, it definitely hypes them up a lot more.
Yeah, and you know what? We have another milestone to kind of congratulate too on the soccer pitch this time. Crestview girls soccer senior captain Macy Schaefer broke not one but 2 school records last night in their 8-2 win over Newton Falls. She now has the program record for most goals in a season and most career goals. So she gets most goals in a season, and they're not even through the season yet. So she gets most goals in a season with many more games to go. Macy Schaefer having a really great season for Crestview. They get the 8-2 win over Newton Falls, and that's impressive because a lot of soccer games were canceled last night because of the weather that we had here in the valley. But Crestview's able to play, and Macy Schaefer's able to break not one but two school records.
And you know what? I mean, it's incredible too. That's so many records, so many milestones being hit in so many different sports this year. And honestly, it's great to see. And we saw it even last year too in the basketball scene too. It was incredible. So I mean, there's great athletes in a multitude of sports in this area. And I mean, you got to get out there and support them too. All of these athletes in every sport, not just football, deserve full crowds every night because they're all doing some incredible things in their respective sport.
Yeah, I mean, maybe understandable if you didn't get to a soccer game last night,
Well, yeah, last night
were
I was here in a monsoon.
but most nights, go out and support those soccer and volleyball teams.
Yeah, and I mean that's exactly what we say here at YSN all the time. I mean, especially we get to we're one of those services that we love providing to for everyone that can't make it in attendance. But hey, if you can make it in attendance, get out there and support your athletes.
Salem girls soccer stays undefeated. They win 8-0 over Minerva. They are 11-0 on the year and 4-0 in the EBC. They will host Beaver Local on Monday. Kickoff set for 7 o'clock. So congratulations to them. Poland boys with the 5-0 win over Lakeview. Poland is now 6-1-0 on the year. You look at I think those were the only three games that I know of that we got scores reported on from last night: Poland, Salem, and Crestview. So congratulations to those teams on the win, and the volleyball teams that got wins as well. Ty, I think we have time to squeeze in one game preview before we talk to Coach Simeon. So since we just talked about Macy Schaefer and the Crestview girls soccer team, let's move on to their football team. Big Field and the Rebels squaring off on the football field.
And you know what? The Rebels talk about turning a season around too, and that's exactly what Anthony Cusick has been able to do with Crestview, and I mean Coach Cusick as well, doing a fantastic job reminding this Crestview program on what they've been the last few years and reminding this defense just exactly who they are too. And you know what we've seen from Crestview is a resurgence in that program, and they are looking as dangerous as ever. Now, in saying that too, looking at Brookfield, and we know what the big matchup was week 2 and what almost was an upset of the Springfield Tigers. Brookfield looks like one of the best teams too in Division 6 this year, and they are not shying away from trying to take a hold of that brass ring, and they're doing so with fantastic offensive line play too. And I mean, just the great protection up front for Brookfield. You want to let Lucas Beckstein too, offensive lineman, Connor Heater, offensive lineman, a junior at that too, as well as good blockers up front. Cody Hoover too at your fullback. That really helps in the running game and gets the ball sometimes too. This is a team though. They'll run on you, they'll pass on you, and they're going to do so with one of the best offensive lines in the entire area. Now, in saying that, what we've seen too from Crestview coming back defensively, it's been almost a complete turnaround. And what we're seeing is they're starting to get right back to where they were successful for the last few seasons too as a defense, one of those teams that was first in the area last year. And I mean, you got to look at Batura doing both positions and doing it well, very, very well. One of the big dog candidates as well this weekend with a good reason for what he can do. Linebacker for Crestview, as well as one who plays on the offense too for Crestview from time to time. And what we see too, also Cameron Dickey, defensive end, Daniel Fitzgerald, defensive back. For everything that they lost, the young guys are starting to come around now for Crestview, and they're being led by these three guys and these three upperclassmen that are really taking the bull by the horns and getting Crestview's defense back to what it can be. And I mean, you're looking at a team last year, 9 games, I believe, 7 of which 15 points or less scored by their opponent. You're starting to see that defense emerge again for the Crestview program. And I'll tell you what, if it does so against this Brookfield team that's been so much about offense, using their offensive line, and just being better than you in the trenches week in and week out, going to be interesting to see how Crestview defensively adjusts, because they also have some size on their defensive line. We know it's going to be a battle in the trenches. Anytime you put Crestview and Brookfield, I feel like in the same matchup as of late too with their lines, you know it's going to be a battle in the trenches. I'm curious to see how Crestview's defense tries to adjust to Brookfield's size.
You know, this is a game between two veteran quarterbacks, and Anthony Cusick and Donovan Pawlowski. Going to be interesting to see which one can have a better day.
Honestly, too. And you know what? Cusick had his struggles too early on in the season as the team was trying to figure things out, but we knew it was only a matter of time before he started getting things on the right track for this Crestview football team. Too talented of a quarterback to let it fall, and boy, is he ever coming through big time again for the Crestview program. And Pawlowski, we know, he's a matter of consistency. One of the most consistent guys week in and week out, and that's the one thing you can't fault him for. Is he always going to put up the biggest numbers week in and week out? No, but he's always going to give you a solid game under center. He's always going to do his job. He's always going to do it efficiently, and he's always going to do it with a limited number of turnovers, and that's what you love about having Pawlowski.
You just brought up the biggest point. He doesn't hurt his own team. He doesn't make those turnovers in big situations. He doesn't put the ball on the ground. He doesn't put the ball in danger. Takes care of the football, and that's one of the biggest attributes. One of the reasons why he's a veteran, because he's learned all those things about ball security and controlling the ball. And some people will be, say, well, he doesn't take enough risks, or he's the old adage in football is he's a game manager. But with Brookfield's offense, you better be, because it's run. You better be able to handle the ball, and you better be able to not put it in danger. And Pawlowski does a really good job of that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a classic senior versus junior quarterback matchup, and Cusick versus Pawlowski. So Pawlowski knows he's got a year after this. Cusick knows this is his last go-around. He knows he needs a big win against a big school, and Brookfield looks to be that target that I think Cusick has kind of pinned on the back. Both coach and quarterback Cusick has pinned on Brookfield's back, saying, hey, we win this game, we are easily being talked about playoffs, good seeding wise, because that's a huge win against a very talented team. And
I might be mistaken, but I believe even Pawlowski, who's a junior, is a third-year starter. I think he's starting as a freshman, if I'm not.
I think you're right as well, and that's the great thing too. You're looking at two quarterbacks that are very talented, two quarterbacks that have been in the show for a couple years, that have been in the reins for a couple years too, and they're going to go out there and give it their all too. And what we're going to see, last matchup we're going to see too, between Cusick and Pawlowski, and I think it's going to be in for a good one. It's about which one makes the mistakes first, I think. And if other defenses can force one of these quarterbacks to make mistakes, Pawlowski doesn't make many of them. Cusick's the leader veteran, the senior leader of that team. Who makes the mistake first? Which defense can get the other quarterback to make the mistake first?
And I think the other thing that it'll come down to is which quarterbacks playmakers make more plays. We're talking about the Rockland Matura. We talked about him a little bit. You brought him up. Big Dog of the Valley nominee this week for good reason. He gets better week in and week out. Every week it seems like he's putting up more yards than he did the week prior. And he's new to this position. He was, that backfield last year was set because they had a bunch of seniors back there that were doing their thing. Now Rockland Matura gets to come in, and he's starting to make a name for himself in Crestview's offense. You kind of understood they would. I mean, Crestview, extremely well coached by the whole staff, not just Coach Q, but everyone on that staff is extremely good at what they do. They got him ready. It took him a couple of games to really get into the groove of things, but now Matura's on the run. He's up for Big Dog of the Valley. I expect a big game from him. And then I also expect a big running game from Brookfield. Because both teams like to run so much, though, I think both teams will gain a lot of yards, but the score is not going to really be that high scoring, because these drives are going to be methodical for the most part. I don't see either one of these teams breaking off a lot of explosive plays.
Yeah, and I mean, DeAndre Craig does a fantastic job too with Brookfield, one of the better backs too. But I mean, one thing you have in Brookfield, passing wise, you have that chemistry between Donovan and David Pulaski, and that is going to be huge. I mean, that's going to be huge because you have that brother combo, and I think that's kind of what made him so dangerous. But also Isaiah Jones, very good junior wide receiver that's kind of come on the spot too as a very viable target number 2 for Donovan. And I mean, of course, you got his senior brother David out there as well, but that chemistry is coming along, and that chemistry's already existed prior to this, but now with him starting to form this chemistry with Isaiah Jones, and Isaiah Jones kind of becoming that viable number 2 option in that offense, it opens up the passing game, and which opens up the running game more for TeAndre Craig. And that's why this Brookfield offense has been so dangerous this year. Crestview going to have their hands full on defense, but Coach Q is going to make sure that they got them right. As Coach Cusick, defense was the name of the game last year, and he's pounding that into their heads for this game.
And you brought up Isaiah Jones, and we'll eventually get to a point on Running Point where we can bring in film and show you this firsthand with like some video assistance. But you look at Brookfield and you look at some of their game film. One of the things they love to do because they're so run happy is to do that play action motion and then get Isaiah Jones running in the seam. And more times than not, he gets an open look one-on-one against the safety, and he'll beat most safeties that they go up against. And Pulaski can just hit him with a nice ball over the shoulder for a big gain. So it's all about getting those safeties to bite on the play action, and then Isaiah Jones is fast enough to get right behind them.
Yeah, and I mean, you got that blend of speed, and then you also have the crisp route running of his brother David that does everything as far as all those short inside routes. You put him at a slot receiver too, and he does great there. He's one of those guys that just runs the routes. Very smart football player too. Of course, knows where his brother's going to go with the ball, and of course on the same side for Donovan, he knows where David's going to be on the field almost every time. Very rarely do you see a miscommunication between those two.
Yeah, Crusty's going to have disciplined safety play. They can't bite on those play action passes. So with that being said, we'll take a timeout. We'll be back with Coach Eric Simeon, the head coach of the Boardman boys soccer team, next on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
New things happen all day. Some are good, some not so good. In today's complicated world, while you're busy working, playing, and living life, we're busy helping you make sense of the day's news. And there's only one place where it comes together with clarity, context, and accountability. It's 21 News at 6 with me, Madison Tromler, and Derek Steyer.
21 News at 6. It's what the day's news really means to you.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
At Greenwood Chevrolet, shop with confidence knowing we're ready to go the extra mile for you. With the largest selection of used vehicles in the Valley, backed by the Greenwood Advantage Warranty. Every one of our vehicles has undergone our own 126-point inspection, so it passes the most important inspection, yours. No other dealership has the extra inventory, gives you extra for your trade, and goes the extra mile for you. Only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
Welcome back to Running Point, Thursday edition, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown, Anthony Hartwig, alongside Mr. Ty Bartell, and we are proud to be joined today by one of the biggest winners in the whole area, I think, this week, and head coach of the Boardman boys soccer team, Eric Simeon. Eric, thank you so much for hopping on. I'm going to let you on right now. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Okay, so before we get into the nitty-gritty of this game against Howland, when we had you on before the season to kind of preview this season for you guys, you brought up last year's matchups with Howland and how you really competed with them for a while. And did you take any of that and really use it for this matchup with them?
Not really. I mean, you almost didn't have to. Everybody knows about Howland. If you're paying any attention to local high school soccer, everybody knows their success, their story, their accomplishments. They're an excellent program year in and year out. I mean, I can't remember the last time Howland had a bad team. I don't know if they ever have. Maybe if you go way back to when they first started. But for the most part, everybody's aware of their success. I'm sure that any team that plays Howland, any local team that plays Howland, that's going to be a game that the kids are excited about, that they want to play, that they're looking forward to that opportunity. If you have a competitive team, if you have kids that are competitive by nature, that's the type of game they look forward to. There's been some games that turned out to have a very ugly result for us. Towards the end of last year, they were firing on all cylinders, as everybody knows. And, we try to put those games out of our mind and focus on the times that we've challenged them, played with them for a half, been competitive to the extent that we can be. And we went, the captains and I went out to watch, we got a chance to watch Howland. At this point in time, I can't remember what game we went to, who we watched them against, but we got a chance to look at them. We knew that they weren't quite the same team. Coach Stiles said that in his post game comments as well. It's not the same team as last year, so we don't want to make it sound like we did anything too ridiculous, but we know, the kids know who they are. They know what Howland is. They know what Howland has accomplished in soccer. And it's a game they look forward to. I don't think we have to tell them a whole lot about it. They know that already. And if they don't, if you're a freshman or if you're new or if you've never seen Howland play, it doesn't take long to figure it out. You watch them for about 5 minutes and you realize this is a solid team, solid program. And it's a type of challenge you want to play in high school sports.
My question for you, Coach, what was kind of like the team chemistry, the climate kind of like prior to the game? Otherwise, like feeling it out, what was kind of that feeling amongst the team prior to this game? Because it seems like you kind of let the boys take the bull by the horns with this one and kind of just go out there and get it themselves.
Well, we did. It was kind of funny. It was one of those rare moments where we were coming off of our first loss of the season. So you're trying to figure out how they're going to respond. And we talked about Howland for a couple of days. We shared with them our game plan. We talked about things and looked at what we wanted to focus on, looked at who we needed to keep an eye out for, looked at what positions we felt we could attack them with more so than they would be able to respond to. And we kind of looked at what do we think their weaknesses are. And, Howland doesn't have many, but we thought we found one or two things that we could try to do as a team and tried to focus on that and remind them, here's the game plan, here's what we want to do. And they understood it. And it was one of those times where they got it, they executed it, and they stayed with it. And, there were some moments in the game where things got a little close again and we had to regroup and reset. And we're thinking to ourselves, okay, we can't let this slip away. This is a real opportunity here. And they were able to find a way to go, when Howland cut our 2-goal lead back to 1, our guys found a way to build it right back up to 2 soon after that, and it was nice to see them respond to that kind of a challenge, because there's some teams that even if they do get lucky, even if they do get that lead on Howland, it's hard to hold it, because they're coming, they're not going to give up, they're not going to quit on it. And but yeah, the kids were kind of self-motivated for this game. We did get on them a little bit at the end of practice. So we played them Tuesday night. I thought Monday's practice was deteriorating a little bit. That they were kind of just kind of being a little silly, having a little bit of relaxed time. They weren't focused for the whole 90 minutes, and we kind of called it 5 minutes early just to kind of prove that point. We stopped they said, "Oh, let's go one more time." I said, "No, you've done enough. If you're going to play like this, don't get on the bus tomorrow." And they kind of realized that we're not focused right now. We need to be serious. And they responded. In the back of their mind, in the back of my mind, I knew it was there. I knew that they know the game, they know the level of play that they needed. You just have to keep reminding them of that sometimes. It's really just keeping them focused, keeping their eyes on the goal. And, not let them get, they want to have some fun. You want to let them have some fun, but let's not get too distracted by things.
Like you said, you guys were coming off your first loss of the season before this game. A lot of people would not want to play Howland coming off their first loss. But you guys, great teams learn from losses. No one wants to lose, but you learn from losses. How much do you think that loss helped you kind of realize some things going into this game? And do you think maybe it would have been the same result if you came in undefeated, a little bit maybe higher on yourselves than you were after the first loss of the year?
Well, there's a lot in that question. I mean, to start with, whether it's a lot of people don't want to play Howland at any point in the game, whether it's coming off a loss, a win, whatever. I think in some ways it did allow the boys to regroup a bit. I don't think we played poorly in the loss. We picked up our first loss. I think it was a combination of a couple of things. We were down a player that night. It's one of those things where you almost feel like you do. For one, you're have an off night. We didn't play badly, but I think the guys realized they didn't play their best. I think that Canfield was pretty fired up for that game. They had some things going on their side of the ball that really motivated their guys for that particular evening. And I was worried about that. I tried to caution the players about that. And, sometimes they don't want to listen to the players them twice a year now since we've both been in the All-American Conference. And, there have been some times we've gone in there feeling confident, feeling good, feeling like there was a chance. I think we felt more comfortable or more positive or more opportunistic this time around than ever before. I just think we had that feeling, that's why I like to try to take a couple of the players with me when we watch an opponent so that they don't just think I'm saying something to them or I'm telling them what I want them to hear. The captains watched the game with me and they said, we think we could do this. We think we could do that. We think this is where they might be weak. And I think it means more when the players are telling their teammates, "Hey, here's what we saw," rather than "Here's what coach saw" or "Here's what I saw." I think it gave them that confidence. It gave them that ability to say, "Okay, if our leaders, if the guys we voted for to be our captains, think we can win this game, then we believe them." Those are the guys that they have the faith in. Those are the guys they chose to be their captains. And if they feel positive about it, I think that it permeates its way through the whole team.
We talk about the improvements that we saw from, the loss of this game, but talk to me. We look at last season and we saw where you guys were close at some points too, but something changed. What were the biggest improvements that you've seen on and off the soccer field with this team from last year compared to this year?
I think collectively we are, we do have a lot of seniors, and I think that helps. We have a large senior class this year. It's not the most experienced class. A lot of them were still playing JV, well into their junior season, just because there wasn't room on the roster for them yet at the varsity level. They might have been on the bench, they might have been subs, but they were getting a lot of their minutes at the JV level. So I think there's two things. There is that age, and there's the physicality and the mental aspect that comes with being a senior compared to maybe a younger team. Howland right now has got a younger team than usual. Some of our opponents may have been in that same situation as well. And then also there's that eagerness, there's that anxiety where, okay, I've been here for a couple of years now. It's finally my chance. I get to play varsity this year. And so there's that determination, there's that anxiousness, there's that eagerness to go out there and take advantage of that. And I think we just have a group that is, they're pretty close with each other. They're pretty close knit. I think they work well together. They're comfortable with each other. We don't have some of the I don't know how to phrase this. We don't have some of the off field issues that sometimes you have in past years. These guys aren't being distracted by things. They're not jealous of each other. One game somebody might play 60 minutes. The next game they might only play 15. It's just the circumstances of the game. And so far, everybody's been willing to accept that. Everybody's been willing to take that role. We haven't had anybody complaining. We haven't had anybody feel bad about that. And those are the kind of things that sometimes can deteriorate what happens with a team. Sometimes I've seen teams where things are going along nicely, and then suddenly somebody just starts to get upset about their minutes, their time, their role. And it starts to detract from what you're trying to do for the whole group. We haven't seen that this year, at least yet, and hopefully we won't. We've got a group that they stay focused together. They're committed. That's the biggest improvement. So much of the game is mental. So much of it is attitude. The physical ability. Is this group any more physically skilled or talented than last year's team? I don't know that they are. They might not be. In some positions, I know that they're not. But it's staying together and keeping that mentality and realizing that we're doing this as a group. It's a team focus, and those things matter. And sometimes teams buy into it. We had that a couple of years ago. We had a really good team with a really good record because they stuck together, because they went through some hard times together. This group is doing the same thing. They're not letting the little distractions turn into arguments or fights. And as long as they keep doing that, I really think that, they're, I felt like maybe I was putting my foot in my mouth when we talked in the summer before the season started. I'm thinking, boy, I hope I'm not bragging too much or setting the bar too high. But we felt like we had, and we should have had, high expectations for this year. And so far, they've lived up to them. It's still a long way to go. We're only about halfway through the year. But, I think that if they continue to do what they've been doing, we have the potential to really have a very special year happening here.
Coach, before we let you go, I think the biggest question that you have to ask after the win as big as it is over Howland, how does the team come out of that? How does the team kind of keep that high level of play after getting such a big win over Howland? So, you've had a practice, I assume. Well, maybe not, because the weather was terrible.
No, the weather was bad last night.
So, but you've probably had a lot of conversations with the team after that win. What do you think? What are the things you're focusing on to keep that momentum and keep that drive after you beat Howland and get that big, the huge, probably the biggest win of the program over Howland?
Yeah, it's the biggest win we've had in a while. The last time I could think of a win like this would be we did something similar to Lakeview about 5 years ago. Lakeview was ranked they weren't ranked first in the state like Howland was, but they were ranked like fourth. They had like a 31 game unbeaten streak or so, and I didn't even know about it. I remember after the game when we came out of there with like a 4-3 win. And the guy from the Tribune kept asking me, how's this feel? And I was like, well, good. It was a good one. He's like, no, but how's it feel? I didn't know what he was talking about. And so he finally had to tell me, well, they had a 31 game unbeaten streak. And I said, I didn't know that. I mean, I kind of pay attention to Howland because they're in our league. They're a conference team. I didn't even know. I got to be honest with you. I didn't know where Lakeview was. I'd never even been there. I mean, I live in Boardman. I never have to leave Boardman. So I didn't even know where we were. We got on a bus. We went to Lakeview. They dropped us off. I have no idea where we were. So I didn't know how to answer that question, but it was kind of comparable to that. So you have to try to guard against having a letdown. And I think it helps that just by coincidence, we were supposed to play tonight, and our opponent called and said, yeah, we got too many injuries. We got to try to move the game if we can. So we ended up in a situation where we don't have to step right back on the field right now. So I think that helps. We're not going to play again until Tuesday. We've kind of been lucky this year. Every time something happens or we've been worried about something potentially happening, we've had these weird situations where, oh, okay, that game got moved, or, oh, this kid's going to be out, but this kid will be back. Like, we've been very fortunate. And I think that helps. Once it's good to have some luck once in a while. So the fact that we have a whole week to kind of put this game behind us, go ahead, celebrate, enjoy. Obviously, the kids are going to celebrate longer than the coaches do. I mean, I was over it the game was Tuesday night. By Wednesday morning, I was like, yeah, well, we worried about the next game now. But it's easy to get caught in that trap if you're a player. It's easy to still be thinking about that last win and not focused on the next opponent. So the fact that got pushed off for a whole week, and we can let them enjoy this moment, let them have that celebration, and then, okay, we've got plenty of time to regroup, refocus, and that's just been great. So we're hoping that gets us the moment and the time to settle down, refocus on what we need to do next. We've got another conference game for Warren Harding on Tuesday night. We have to go to Mollenkopf, and that's a place that's, you talk to anybody from Boardman, whether it's football games, soccer games, we've at times had some bad luck in Mollenkopf Stadium. So it's a good that it's going to be an important game. It's a conference game. It'll be something that they have to focus on again. It won't be something that they'll just be able to look past. And that's always, again, it's the psychological side of things. The skill levels there, the ability will be there. If we can maintain the focus and get them to regroup and put the win behind them, put the celebration behind them, and focus on what's next, because we're still going to play Howland a second time. We still have to play Canfield a second time, and we haven't played Fitch either time yet. So I mean, the conference is still there's a lot of obstacles still out there in front of us in the second half of our schedule. So it's good that we still have things to focus on, and it's good that we have the time to get the team to regroup, and we're looking forward to see what happens next.
Coach, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day and your work day, of course, to come on and talk with us about this big win. Couldn't congratulate you more on it, and good luck the rest of the season. I'm sure we'll have you on again at some point before the end of the year.
Okay, no problem. Thanks. Have a good day, guys.
All right, Eric Simeon, the head coach of Boardman Soccer, joining us on YSNLive.com Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet. And what a treat it was to talk about that win. Like he said, one of the biggest for the program. Obviously, that one against Lakeview a couple of years ago, just as big. But this felt different. It's a conference opponent. You're playing them twice a year. They're on a 48 regular game winning streak and 27 overall, and ranked 1 in the state. And you just do it. You just go out there and do it. Like, I love it.
Yeah, and I mean, they did. They went out there, and I mean, Boardman looking like they might be one of the top teams too, and ones to watch out for come tournament time again. So, I mean, this is a huge win for the program, and it's definitely one that can get the momentum boosted for the rest of the season.
And Boardman was not the first team to score on Howland, but they were the first team to score a meaningful goal on Howland. Ontario snuck one in with 52 seconds left when they were down 3-0. So, yeah, Howland gave up a goal before the Boardman game, but Boardman came in and scored, right off the bat and got the meaningful goal over Howland and got 4 of them too. So that's a good defense over there that hadn't been scored upon until Saturday. And Boardman, what a game plan by coach, and then what a job by the players to execute that game plan.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see how Howland responds too as well, because we know they're going to respond, and this might make them even stronger. So the tournament's going to be real fun to watch.
I feel like Howland is kind of like, I hate to bring up your favorite team, but kind of like maybe the Patriots in the regular season where they're like, okay, you beat us in the regular season, but we'll call us.
Let's see what happens in the playoffs. Let's see what happens in the playoffs.
Call us in the tournament a little bit. And that's probably the mindset Howland's trying to keep is, just say, call us in the tournament right now, yeah. They'll be fine.
They're going to get their wins in the regular season. They're going to get a high seed. They're going to be fine.
No streak lasts forever. I mean,
yep.
You're going to lose eventually. And it happened. Boardman came in with a great game plan, executed it well. And I think Coach Simeon brought up a good point, was able to hold off a little bit of comeback attempt by Howland and regroup, because a lot of teams kind of like I call it the Tiger Woods effect. When you're ahead on Tiger Woods and then you're in the 18th green and you hear a bunch of roaring on the 16th and Tiger's coming, and then you feel like the golfer's head just kind of caves in a little bit and their hat stops fitting, and then they miss a 3-foot putt that would have won them the tournament and Tiger comes up and wins. It says that effect when someone's coming back at you and how good they are. You can kind of get tight a little bit, but Boardman never did.
Yeah, and I mean, it's hard sometimes, especially when you build that initial lead, and then you have to try to prevent the comeback because momentum solely sits with the other team for a while, and it's very hard to battle that momentum back. And that big goal to stay up 2 goals after they cut it to a 1-goal lead was huge for Boardman. And like Coach said, that's the difference of the game, and that's very well why Boardman was able to win it. They were able to take momentum back and thwart the comeback effort.
So a big upset for Boardman. They played Tuesday against Warren Harding at Mollenkoff Stadium. He's right. They got a little bit of luck on their side as well, being able to have a week off after that big win.
Yeah, absolutely. It gets them a chance to calm down now and refocus for the next one.
I feel like if they played Thursday, that's where you talk about trouble for a letdown because, like you said, it's hard for those kids to come down that quick off the huge momentum high of beating them, the number 1 team in the state and all the win streaks, yada, yada, yada. You win that game, and then all of a sudden you have to refocus on a new opponent. Could have been a letdown game if they had to play 2 days later.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was, like you said, a little bit of a lucky break for the program.
While we're on the subject of Boardman, they are involved in one of our marquee matchups of the week as well. They've looked very impressive this year, but they get a huge test on Friday night as they go to Cleveland Benedictine. Talk about this game. We all know what Cleveland Benedictine is all about. I believe they're ranked really high in the last computer poll. I don't remember if they were 1, but they're definitely well respected in the computer polls. Boardman, a big test. They already had one at Massillon Jackson, and they were close. Now they have Terrence Thomas back, and they have another one and in Cleveland for the Benedictine game.
Yeah, and I mean Boardman, they're a position too. They're a solid team this year, and they're looking really good as they keep climbing the rankings. They keep on winning too, and they keep winning meaningful games. And even the ones that they're dropping, they're pretty close in it. And I mean, they're returning a lot of offense that we know from last year. Anthony Hightower is a fantastic receiver for him. Terrence Thomas, we know he's the show. Cam Thompson too is another great one. Jason Treveri there as well, Joseph Ferreira, and we know Sean O'Horo, of course. I mean, great offensive line there, and Boardman just great all-around offense, honestly. And I mean, that's exactly why Boardman's been able to beat so many teams. And the addition of Terrence Thomas now at partly through the season, more like quarter way through the season, has been huge, and it's boosted this team and made them that much better. And they're going to be that much more dangerous. But you're going up against one of the best in Cleveland Benedictine this year, as I think they're still ranked as in the top 5, I believe, right now.
Yeah, and not only are you playing them, but you have to go to their house and make that road trip all the way where I don't know, probably an hour and a half ish away, and you have to play them in their spot, and that's going to be a big test. But Boardman's already gone for a long road trip to Massillon Jackson, and I think they're going to be used to that travel. I don't think that's going to affect them too much.
Yeah, and I mean, quarterbacks, though, I mean, you're looking at, I think Carlton Yarborough is the quarterback over there in Benedictine. Very good. Dwayne Jackson Jr., quick as a bullet. Marvin Conkle, Taryn Greer are their 2 receivers. They got Brandon Boyd too, a bunch of seniors. I mean, it's all senior and junior led, so you're going to have a lot of size and you're going to have a lot of experience to deal with, and I mean, a lot of speed on this Benedictine team. It's going to be interesting, though, because we have seen this Boardman team compete with the likes of Maslin Jackson as well, which is a very high-scoring offense, and they were able to compete with them and kind of lock horns. Unfortunately, I think dropping that one by 3 points, but I mean, still was able to come away with good experience and learned a lot about themselves, I think, in that game. And I think it's definitely going to help them going into this Benedictine game. And I think if they can have a similar performance, they can definitely come out on top of it. But Benedictine, you got to remember, one of the best in the state right now.
Yeah, they're 4-0 on the year. As you look at their record, they're 4-0. They have wins over Walsh Jesuit, CCHS, CCCHS, and Bishop Hartley, who we saw first week one. Remember week one when Bishop Hartley had this offensive explosion and they looked just as unstoppable as Ursuline?
Yeah.
Benedictine beat them 38-17.
That's what I'm saying. Benedictine, as good as Benedictine's offense is, and looking at them too and respecting the program, because I got to preview them a little bit because Fitch played them last year. But this is a Benedictine team that is very respectable too. And I mean, you look at the defense. I mean, I think they run a 3-4. So you got Lewis Terry, you got Darius Siggers, and you got Kareem Jennings, I think, on the front three, and those guys are all quick. I mean, the linebacking core, it's just a lot of speed on this. Marvin Conkle and Brandon Boyd, again, in the safety department, Eric Cloud, Michael Hatcher, and their cornerbacks. I mean, it's a lot of quickness in the secondary, too. Boardman going to have to match that quickness, I think, with creativity, and I think there's going to be a lot of creativity in Coach Antrim's game plan going into this one, and I think that's going to be the key for Boardman if they want to come out on top.
You know, a very interesting thing to look at, Benedictine missed last week. They weren't able to play. We've seen a week off hurt teams. We've seen a week off help teams. We don't know how Benedictine is going to react to having a week off. Is it going to be a rust factor, or is it going to be a reload factor where they're ready to go? If I had to guess, because of how many seniors they do have on that team, I wouldn't expect them to be too rusty. I think they'll be focused.
Yeah, and I mean, you kind of worry if you are a Boardman fan because it's given Benedictine a little bit extra time to look at your team and preview your team. But you know what? Coach is doing a great job with this Boardman program, and I have no doubt that he's going to come in with a creative game plan, as he has with every game Boardman's played this year, to keep them competitive in a bunch of them. So I have no doubt that they're going to be able to lock horns with Benedictine. I'm just curious to see what Benedictine's going to come out with to try to combat Terrence Thomas. Because as good as Benedictine's defense is, I don't know if they've seen anyone like a Terrence Thomas yet.
It's a big deal because really not too much film on Terrence Thomas yet this year. He played in week 3. No, but he played in week 4, and then he played a half in week 5. So, I mean, and then you could argue that week 4 game was his first game back, so the offense wasn't probably completely, in the rhythm where they wanted to be with him in the lineup yet. So maybe not a lot of really solid film to look at Terrence Thomas and what he's bringing to the table this year with this Boardman offense.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, I think Terrence Thomas is going to be the X factor for Boardman in this one, and he's going to have to bring the show out on offense. And if he can, I think they can stay in it and compete with Benedictine and even pull off what I would consider an upset, considering they are going to be in Benedictine. It would be a huge upset for
both
them.
Both these teams are good, but Benedictine's undefeated, and they're home. It would be an upset. I don't think that would be very bold to say that the Spartans would be getting an upset. And you know what?
Have the guy do it, though. They do.
If Boardman wins this week and then continues to have a really good season, I think Seth Antrim might be one of the top picks for Coach of the Year in the area. I mean, what he's been able to do first year, what Boardman was like last year compared to this year, the improvements they've made.
I mean, you got to
they
consider
look like a completely different team.
You got to consider Boardman's, schedule on top of the fact that they have to face the usual AAC. They were facing parts of the Steel Valley Conference in Cheney and Mooney too. Howland was early on. Maslin Jackson was obviously a big one too. And I mean, after this, you go Harding, Ursuline, Fitch, Canfield.
Oof.
After this Benedictine game. Harding, Ursuline, at Ursuline, Fitch, and Canfield at home. That's a tough end of the schedule. But you know what? If Coach Antrim can get his team through this, if he could guide that ship through it, and you got Terrence Thomas, if he's healthy, that X factor in your offense, if you can guide that ship through those rough waters, I think definitely can be considered Coach of the Year candidate.
Very interesting to think about. Do you think if Boardman goes undefeated in that stretch, they could be a one-loss, one seed?
Oh, absolutely. If you have a win, I mean, I understand the record of Warren Harding isn't the greatest, but you got to look at their strength of schedule too. But a win over Ursuline, a win over Fitch, a win over Harding, a win over Benedictine, and a win over Canfield. I mean, you're looking at different divisions. Canfield Division 3, Fitch Division 2. Yeah, you're looking at and Ursuline Division 4, but you're beating the tops in each one of those divisions. I think, yeah, you would see Boardman at tops of their conference seeding for sure.
It'd be a great feat because getting the top seed in Division 1 is brutally hard. But it could happen.
I think so. I mean, it depends obviously where other teams finish and how many undefeated teams there are. But I think a one loss of a Boardman team, if you're looking at that with that record, I don't know, man. That's a pretty solid record.
Obviously, Boardman would need Fitch to continue to win, would need Canfield to continue to win, would need Ursuline to continue to win, and then they would obviously hope that Warren Harding gets a couple of more wins under their belt. So those teams' resumes are as good as possible when they play them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, even the loss to Boardman, as the Boardman loss, I want to correct too, as I had the wrong score from
20-14, right?
Yeah, 20-14. I was thinking of another one that ended 49-46 recently with a mass-led team, but but no, Boardman was still close in that one, and I think the biggest thing, Massillon didn't score a whole lot of points on Boardman, and that defense held them very, very well. So I think even looking at that one loss, if Boardman wins out, I think definitely you can consider them a number one seed.
And remember, Boardman had the ball with about 2 minutes left in that game with a chance to win. I mean, they couldn't get a game-winning drive, but you got the ball in your hands with a chance to win the game. So 20-14 with a last drive to get a chance to win. That's a pretty good feat against the Massillon Jackson team that at the time was 3-0 for the first time in a while. I mean, their program was a little bit rejuvenated and really feeling themselves. So to go there and be that close without your starting quarterback, pretty impressive for Boardman, and they look to impress even more people this week as they go to Cleveland Benedictine. We'll be there too. Donnie making the trip, so that game will be broadcasted on ysnlive.com, by the way. We make the trip so some of you don't have to.
Yeah. And you know what? Just looking at it too, because I just wanted to comment on Boardman being ranked 7 in the division and region right now. Benedictine ranked number 1, Fitch ranked number 5. So you would automatically jump both of them. You would assume with a win over both of them. You know where I think Ursuline.
I don't know if 7. One might drop to.
If you beat Benedictine, they got. I don't know if you immediately jump them, but Boardman goes from a 7 to a top 4 immediately. Then I think they're in the top 4 immediately, and Benedictine has to fall out of number 1 then.
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. Benedictine definitely not number 1 anymore. But you have to wonder, would they drop from 1 to be low enough for Boardman to jump them? I don't. That's a lot. That's a lot. But they would definitely be a lot closer.
You might see them to maybe to a 3 and Boardman to a 4 then.
Right.
Because you can't put many teams above Boardman then after beating Benedictine.
Right. I agree. I think that's a very valid argument. But then you also have to wonder at what the other teams do and what 2 and 3 and 4 and Fitch do this week too.
Yeah, and I mean Fitch, obviously we know they're gonna be they're in the top 5 ranked, and I mean let's see where Ursuline's at too. Ursuline number 3 in Division 4, so I mean in their region, so that would be a huge win too for
Canfield's pretty high in 3, I assume.
Canfield is ranked. Let me see. Canfield is number 8 in Division 3 with very good teams above them: Hubbard, Steubenville, Streetsboro, Dover, Chardon. So some very great teams above them. Chagrin Falls is number 1. So I mean, but still, that's a top 10 team in Division 3 that you would have to beat as well.
we can talk about this a little bit more tomorrow, but just Canfield's sitting at 8 right now. They got some work to do. I do not think they want to be the 8 seed going into the playoffs, because you play 9 week 1 of the playoffs, but then you're squared up unless there's a monumentous upset. You got the 1 seed in the second round of the playoffs. I don't know.
Yeah, and I
mean, want to get out of that spot a little bit.
That's gonna be tough too. And I mean, but I honestly think, looking at Boardman's, they have the potential to do it. It starts though with this tough Benedictine team, and then you got to go right to Mollenkopf to face Harding, and we already saw what Harding's been competitive in every single game that they've played this season. So you know that they'll be able to they'll be scoring.
This is going to be a fun one. And you said X factor would be Terrence Thomas. I think it's actually going to be Sean O'Horo and getting that run game established to free up some space for Terrence Thomas. That's what I think. I think the key is going to be keeping Benedictine's offense honest a little bit with the run game of O'Horo. That way they don't just key in on Terrence Thomas and all of a sudden it gets twice as hard for him to do anything. Got to get Sean O'Horo involved in the offense.
They have a very good defensive line, does Benedictine, so I want to see what Coach Antrim's able to do and how creative he's able to get with some of these run schemes to get O'Horo some space to run and create some of those holes in the defense. It's going to be interesting because we know Benedictine really good because of their defense, and it really helps that they have a very good defensive line.
And hear me on this. Stay patient with your run game, because with that defensive line, you called it. There are probably going to be some runs that go for no gain or a loss of 1 or 2. But if you stay patient with it, stay with it, you got to keep that defense honest, or else they're just going to pin their ears back and go right for your quarterback. So don't ditch the run game too early, unless the circumstances of the game. Obviously, if you're behind by a lot, you got to start throwing the ball a little bit. But try as you might to keep the patience up with that run game. Keep that Benedictine offense very honest.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Sean O'Horo is the kind of guy, too, that if we've seen him have big games before, and I think he's primed to have them, too, if you're not watching for him. And if Benedictine loses sight of him, he's going to run all over him.
If you lose sight of him. O'Horo. Oh, no. We are going to take on that note, we're going to take a break on Running Point. We'll be right back. 1:15, Maggie Pavlansky, the junior setter for Lakeview and the new member of the 1,000 Assist Club, will join us. Running Point brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
When looking for home design inspiration, don't just be inspired, be Baird inspired. Whether new or remodeling, Baird Brothers has the latest trends like shiplap to refresh your home. Go from inspiration to installation with our wide selection of in-stock American hardwoods. From the rustic charm of antique oak to the warmth of traditional cherry, Baird Brothers has what you need to make your home inspiring. Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
For a great vehicle and a great experience, come to Boardman Mitsubishi today. As always, our full lineup of Mitsubishi models comes with a standard 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. Boardman Mitsubishi, your hometown Mitsubishi dealer since 1999.
Coca's Pizza, always supporting our community and our local athletes. Stop in on game day or score big and have it delivered right to your door. Check out our daily specials at cocaspizza.com. That's Coca's Pizza. We serve it hot.
At Hubbard Chevrolet, Hubbard can help you get the financing you need, regardless of your situation. I'm Tony Page, and I've helped thousands of customers in Northeast Ohio and Western Pennsylvania buy a vehicle. Visit HubbardChevy.com to get pre-approved. Remember, folks, Hubbard can help.
You're not waiting to see what the world has in store for you. It's more about what you have in store for the world. All you need is the opportunity. All you need are the resources of a large university and the advantages of a personalized academic setting. where you can experience new worlds in the arts and sciences, business, and education, and make them your own. We are where you shape your future. We are Youngstown State University, and proud.
Welcome back to Running Point on YSNLive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig with you, and also Mr. Ty Bartell. And Ty, we're getting ready for Maggie Pavlansky, the junior setter for Lakeview. You'll look at Lakeview on the week. They swept Canfield on Monday, which was a big eye-opening win for everybody, I think, because Canfield, obviously, the big Division I power, and Lakeview gets the sweep over them. They get the win over Poland on Tuesday as well. Lakeview started the season 0-2. They've only lost one game since. They look to kind of put things together.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, Pavlansky doing a great job for them as well as leading it. And you know they're looking to take reins of the whole conference, the whole division again, and they just might, as they are definitely hot on the trail.
Yeah, they're trying to stay in this NE8 race, but at this point they do need some help from opponents of Girard. The two of their three losses are to Girard, and Girard has a firm grip of that NE8 lead right now, but Lakeview's keeping pace and trying to stay right on their back in case Girard ends up slipping a little bit.
Just need a good seeding, honestly, for tournament time. And I think if Lakeview gets good seeding, I mean, they don't necessarily need the number one seed in there. I think they're all right with that. And I think get good seeding and just go back to what you do best. And I think Lakeview will be just fine.
I think if you ask the Lakeview community if they had to, obviously you always want to win the league first. That's always your main goal, and still a chance to win the league. Don't get me wrong, not trying to say it's over. But if you don't win the league, but you get a district championship, obviously all of a sudden that league trophy loses its shine a little bit, and that district championship trophy starts to look real friendly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we all know what the end goal is for these teams too. And I think Lakeview has a very good opportunity to do so.
They also have a very good setter, and she's joining us now. Maggie Pavlansky from Lakeview, thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Of course. We have to talk about your 1,000 assists, 1,000 career assists. It happened on Monday against Canfield. Take us through kind of what it feels like to now call yourself a member of the 1,000 Assist Club.
It feels pretty good. I mean, I've been thinking about it since, I would say, like the end of last year. Like, I noticed that I was getting kind of close, and like it hasn't been like one of those things where I'm like, oh, I have to get my 1,000th assist. But it was nice just to know that like I got it on Monday and it's out of the way, and it's just a really good feeling.
You got it at home and you got it against Canfield. Those are two big reasons why you want to get it on those days, because obviously Canfield, a very good volleyball team on the other side, and then you get it against your home crowd. What did it mean to you to kind of, one, get it at home, and two, be able to get it against such a quality opponent?
It meant a lot to me personally. Like, I personally remember watching my sister play Canfield, and that's always such a huge rivalry. And we have not played Canfield in a while, and just to be able to play them and get it on the same day, just a really good feeling, a really good win for us, and it just like a cherry on the top.
Yeah, and I mean, looking at what you guys have been able to do this year too. I mean, playing a very tough schedule and coming out on top of it, a lot of the times too. Ever since Girard, you guys have been on this win streak, haven't dropped a set too. Talk to me a little bit about what this team has really been improving on this year, and you being a big part of it as you set up a lot of this offense. What improvements you've seen on the offense of this team throughout the year?
I've seen a lot of growth, like as far as like our mindset going into games and just like minimizing our errors and just doing things really consistently. I think like we have had 2 losses this season to both undefeated teams, so credit to them. But I just think like we have just learned so much from those losses, and we're going to come out really strong towards the end of the season, and we're going to keep building on what we already have.
And I like that you use the word growth, because still, I mean, people forget, but it's still a fairly young team, only one senior, and a lot of people just trying to gel into their roles. What have you seen from some of the younger players growing from week 1 to where they are now?
They've definitely grown a lot. They've become a lot more like mature playing, and I've just seen their confidence grow. And it's just been a really nice thing to see these younger girls step up and be able to play confidently with us. I think a lot of girls have been able to take like more of a leadership role, and they're starting to really excel at it, and it's really exciting to see.
Yeah, and I mean, take a moment too to just kind of reflect on your time playing with Lakeview too. I mean, 1,000 career assists, from 1 to 1,000. Kind of just look back and reflect on your journey, and reflect on some people that kind of helped get you to that point as well. It can be people within the volleyball program, can be teachers too, or it can be inside or outside of Lakeview school. But just talk to me about your journey getting there.
Well, I've always been a fan of Lakeview Volleyball ever since forever, I guess. But like just so many people have helped me along the way. Like all of my coaches, Coach G, Lainey especially, she has helped me so much because she is a setter too, and she's just been so insightful, so helpful to me. And like all of my coaches and all of my teammates and my parents and my family, they just all been so supportive and such a good influence on me, and I just appreciate all of them so much.
Reaching a milestone like this, it obviously makes you reflect a little bit on, all the time that you've put in. Talk about a little bit of the work ethic that you've put in to become the player you are, and some of the things that have gone in that people don't see that go into this 1,000 assists.
Well, every day I just want to be the best version of me that I can be, like just one day at a time, and I want to be the best version of myself. So I just try to do things right on and off the court, and just be there for my teammates and my friends, and try to make myself and my family proud.
Now that the 1,000 assists are out of the way, what's the next goal for Maggie Peplansky?
2,000. I'm just kidding. But honestly, I just want to win as many games as possible, help my team win. But yeah, just take it one day at a time and enjoy the time I have left. So
Tonight is senior night in Lakeview as you guys host South Range. You're one senior, but a very special one in Carly. Talk a little bit about what it's been like putting together this year for her, and some of the things that you guys might have planned if you don't want to give up some secrets. I know there are probably some surprises too. But what are some things that are going to be in store tonight?
Yeah, tonight is senior night for Carly. We're really excited for her. We set up quite a few things for her. I think she'll enjoy them. And, we just want to go out tonight and get a win for her. So, yeah.
Talking about the remainder of your schedule, we know it's more of a sprint than a marathon in volleyball, as it feels like games come rather quickly. So looking to tail end of this season and getting into tournament time, what is the biggest thing that you yourself want to improve on and you want to see the team improve on before you get to that tournament?
Before we get to the tournament, I personally want our team to just continue our upward trends, like just continue growing and becoming more mentally tough, and to just get better at little things so that we can be better in the long run. Because we do have a lot of games coming up in the next few weeks, and we just want to make sure that we're turning upward and not downward.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've noticed about you guys, especially after the first 2 games, you've kind of kept confident, and you've kept your confidence. How has this Lakeview team kept that confident mindset?
we just said we wanted to be true to ourselves. Like we didn't want to try to be doing too much and like try to just prove it to ourselves that we're fine. Like we're still gonna be okay. Like it's only 2 games into the season. And I feel like we did a really good job with that and just taking it one day at a time and just keep growing and keep building.
What has been one of your favorite things about playing the season? As we know, things have kind of opened up. Fans have been able to get back into the stands, so it feels a little bit more normal. And obviously, a milestone now for you. But what's been your favorite part of being with this team this season?
Definitely just flat out being able to be with my teammates more and to have fans in the crowd and just like have that atmosphere back. Like that's just been so special and I feel like taken for granted like in years past, but like now like it's just been so nice to be there like with my teammates, be able just to just be ourselves and just to be there with them has been so special.
Maggie, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. I know it's a school day and you guys you're gonna go on and continue your school day. Have a great rest of the day. And I feel like we might talk to you again before the season ends with how much success you're having.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Maggie Pavlansky of Lakeview making our Thursday grand with her 1,000 career assists. We love it, and we love catching up with her. It's the second time she's been on the show. Always a pleasure, and we can't applaud her enough for the things that she's been able to do for the Lakeview offense and the Lakeview team as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, part of why Lakeview's successful, and it's going to be exciting to see them come tournament time.
You said it, my friend. You said it. It's going to be really exciting. And obviously, we're going to have to see if they can get that Notre Dame Cathedral Latin monkey off their back in tournament time, because it's always been them that they run into. Notre Dame Cathedral Latin looks just as good as they do every year. They'll probably be in that district again. With super districts, though, you never know. Notre Dame Cathedral Latin might fall into the other district. But if they are, I'm sure Lakeview's going to be focused and eyeing that game as something that would really beneficial to, the first time ever they've lost in NE8. If it ends the way it's looking, if Gerard doesn't slip and they end up being not NE8 champions for the first time since the NE8 was, compiled, then I think getting that NDCL monkey off their back would be a good way to wash that taste out of their mouth.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's just see if they can continue that trend upwards. As Maggie Pavlansky says, I mean, that's the goal of the team right now. And I think they are trending upward, especially after that loss to Gerard. Like I said, haven't dropped a set to and played some very quality opponents since. So let's see if they can continue that trend.
We have really big football matchups to talk about. We've already talked about Boardman and Benedictine, and we've also talked about Crestview and Brookfield, and now we venture into the EOAC, a big one that could pay dividends in the end of the season in the standings. Southern playing Wellsville, and these are two really good teams that are going at it. What do you think about this one?
We know what Southern's been able to do this year, and Wellsville also a very successful team, but Southern bringing back a lot of guys that they had from years past. Ryan Exline's huge for them. Brian Foster on the offensive line, Chance Woolley for Southern's offense. That's all really good. I mean, defensively, Wyatt Morris, Chance Woolley, again, two very good linebackers. But they're a team that, looking at what they've been able to do this year, it's been impressive. But Wellsville's also a team that, at times they really have been impressive, with Isaiah Greathouse just being fantastic. And I mean, you got guys, I think I want to say the Christens, Valen Kristen and Garrett Kristen, I believe, both good receivers for them as well. It's going to be an interesting matchup, because I just want to see which one of these teams is going to be able to grab that initial lead, because I feel like whoever grabs that initial lead is going to have a real huge advantage going forward in this game.
Yeah, this is where we learn a lot about Wellsville, because remember, they had to miss the first 2 weeks of the season, and then they came out. Their first game of the year was against Lowville, and that game was lopsided, but probably because Wellsville hadn't played a quarter of football yet, and and Lowville had played 2 full games. They didn't look great, but then all of a sudden they come off with 2 wins, one over Columbiana, one over East Palestine, and now here's your first real test in the EOAC. Now you've had 3 games under your belt. You're starting to roll a little bit. Your offense is starting to find some rhythm. I think we're going to learn a lot about where this team stands this week.
Yeah, and I mean, what we saw too, I think Southern win over Columbiana was big. I mean, a big win over Lisbon too. They beat Edison 34-21 to open the season, lost to Crestview, lost to Plymouth, and their game against East Canton was canceled, but 3-2 on the season. Very solid team. But like you said, this is one of the first tests in the EOAC, and I mean, it's going to be interesting because both these teams are kind of in the middle of it right now, and it's going to be interesting to see who kind of grabs a hold of it because the EOAC is still kind of open right now.
Since that loss to Lowville in the first game of the season, Wellsville has only given up 12 points total. They gave up 12 to Columbiana, and then they shut out East Palestine. Now a Southern team that can score, but not explosive through the air. Maybe more explosive through the run game a little bit. I mean, the defense of Wellsville going to have to stay where they are. I think if they keep this game under 28, then they have a solid chance to really, make a push in the EOAC, get a big win over Southern.
Yeah, and you know what? The biggest thing I've noticed too with Southern, their defense is really good, and that's going to be the toughest part, I think, for Southern. And I mean, one of the better teams, I think, in D7 as far as defense is concerned, haven't allowed more than 28 points this season. So I mean, they're a team that's going to hold you defensively, and they've done a good job of holding teams defensively. It's been more of an offensive question has been more of the thing for Southern. And when they do have their offense figured out, they've had some big games that recently you think the offense might have figured some things out. That defense has been consistent all year, though.
Yeah, and the Wellsville team that you look at their offense, and they scored 41 on Columbiana and 35 on East Palestine. They're starting to find a little bit of rhythm too. So you talk about Southern's tough defense, Wellsville coming in at the right time. They're starting to find some rhythm. They're starting to find some chemistry. I think this is like the perfect time to play Southern. You don't want to play them at the end of the season when you're banged up. I think this is like if they could have asked for a better time in their schedule to lock horns with Southern.
Yeah, and I mean, it's going to be a good matchup. That's going to really, I think, determine who's going to be towards the top of the EOAC, because it's going to be a big win for Southern if they do, because United and Valley Christian both being 3-1 right now, I believe, as well. So, I mean, I think they have both of them on their schedule as well. So those are going to be big games as well going forward. So I think this is one of those wins, though, I mean, would be huge for either team with the records being what they are.
And you look at the schedule ahead, too. Wellsville has Lisbon next week, United, Valley Christian, Latonia. So, they win today. They win tonight. Well, not tonight, tomorrow night. And then, they're sitting in. I think they're sitting pretty good in the EOAC. United's tough, and it might come down to that United game, but Lisbon and a Valley Christian, I think, are 50-50 games. And Latonia is a game that I think, based off of what we saw from Latonia last week, that Wellsville should feel, like that's a winnable game. So if they win tonight, that's kind of in the driver's seat a little bit for Wellsville.
Yeah, I think so as well. So it's going to be interesting to see which one of these teams is able to grab this win, because I think it's really going to also give them a lot of momentum going forward for the second half of the season.
I'm kind of, if you had to pick an X factor for Wellsville to get this win, who do you think it would be? I think it's got to be on the defensive side, because like I said, I think they got to keep this game below 28. And I think their defense is going to come up big. Just trying to find out, I also think it'll definitely be on their line. Because Southern runs so well. I feel like their front seven will come up huge for the Tigers.
Yeah, Tyler Stanley's a big one for the defensive line. He's one of your senior leaders, and I think that's going to be big, because I mean, you look at what they lost in Austin Garalico and Caden Weekly, that were both guys that were on that front seven last year. You got Gavin Kuntz still. That's one of your linebackers. He'll come up big, I think, as well as a senior leader. But I think those are going to be your two guys. Tyler Stanley, especially as your defensive lineman, will line up, I think, on the edges, can also line up nose tackle-wise, really can line up anywhere on that D-line. But I think he's going to be one of those X factors in really stopping a Southern run game that I think the Indians are going to use a lot.
I think the conversation in the defensive room this week is going to be keep Southern off schedule. Don't let them into those third short situations. Try to get them into 3rd and 5 or more and keep them behind the chains a little bit to make their offense as uncomfortable as possible. I know no offense goes into a game thinking, let's get 3rd and 7 every time. We'll be golden. So I kind of am feeding into my own pet peeve because I hate it when football announcers or broadcasters or analysts say, man, they got to get this team behind schedule because they are not built for 3rd and long. Because I'm thinking, what team goes into a game thinking, let's get 3rd and long every single time and we'll be comfortable? I mean,
yeah.
But Southern is a team that I think thrives on getting ahead of schedule, winning on 1st and 2nd down, and setting up 3rd and short. So there's a lot less pressure on 3rd down. I bet if you look at their 3rd down conversions for the year, it'd be really high because of that. So Wellsville has to focus on winning 1st and 2nd downs and keeping Southern behind schedule.
Yeah, and I mean, they still got a very good sophomore quarterback in Ryan Exline that's going to continue to develop, and they're starting him as a sophomore, so we're excited to see what he's able to bring to the table as they can pass as well. Going to be interesting to see. As we know, Exline is going to probably be the guy that's going to be leading this Southern offense for the next few years too. So if it comes down to a passing game, they have a very good, Wellsville has a very good secondary. We'll see though if Exline attacks the Tigers right at the base, and he just might too. He just might, and he looks to be one of the guys of the future for them down in Salineville.
Yeah, and this is a home game, by the way, for Southern. So Wellsville having to make the trip to Salineville for this game. But I still think they have a decent shot at really getting this win. Probably like Boardman, it would probably be considered an upset a little bit because Southern finished at the top of that EOAC last year with United in Latonia. So, and they're rolling this year. So I feel like probably an upset if Wellsville is able to do it. And I think they should be able to at least put themselves in positions to win this game.
I mean, you got to look at what the EOAC standings are right now. Valley Christian and United are both 3-1. Latonia trying to figure things out. It's Wellsville and it's Southern, and then it follows with Columbiana, Lisbon, East Palestine. And this is going to be big as one of these teams, they're kind of fighting for 3rd place right now. Win would send for Southern 3-2 to 4-2, and you're looking at 4-2 against two teams that are 3-1. We'll see where they fall too at the end of it, but you'll definitely keep yourselves in the standings. Same thing with Wellsville. So this is going to be a big game for both teams as far as the EOAC is concerned, as the win is going to put them at top 3 in the EOAC standings.
Yeah, and one of the things that I'm looking at, and I have to correct myself. This game is in Wellsville, not in Southern. The schedule that I'm looking at I'm so used to, the home team being on the right side, boom at boom, and this one has Wellsville on the left side of the matchup thing. So I made the mistake, but Wellsville is at home against Southern, so that's a big key for Wellsville now. Now they're going to be a home game, and that's a beautiful facility down in Wellsville. So I think it'll be a good home game for Wellsville, give them even more of a chance to pull off that win.
Yeah, and we'll see. We'll see what they're able to do. This is going to be a very good matchup, though, and it's going to be exciting as far as EOAC standings are concerned.
Another game in the EOAC that we want to talk about because it's going to be a big story for either program. Someone's getting their first win of the year, Lisbon versus East Palestine, and we all know what has been going on in Lisbon's program, and they're playing for a lot more than football, and they've been fairly competitive the last couple of weeks. And of course, East Palestine trying to put things together, trying to find a way to build momentum, and Tony Foster is just a leader of men. That's how you would describe him. He always has his team at least ready to go out to battle. This is going to be an interesting game between these two. Both programs trying to find light at the end of the tunnel if you would call it that, and get a win under their belt.
Yeah, absolutely. As we don't want to just, we like to highlight the big premier matchups that have implications on state championship games, but we also like to highlight the programs that are being built and the foundations and the bricks are starting to be laid right now. And that's what you're seeing in this matchup between Lisbon and East Palestine. And I think what it's going to be coming down to, you're going to see two very prolific, I think, running attacks. And that's exactly what both of these teams like to utilize a lot. But I think it's going to be interesting to see what East Palestine's going to be able to do. Tyler Bistarkey, your senior running back. You got JD McBride as your senior quarterback. So I think East Palestine, it's going to come down to those two guys. Those are your two guys on offense that are going to be leading the rush too. And I think it's an East Palestine offense that we've seen a significant improvement on from last year to this year, scoring a lot more, I think, from last year to this year. I think points wise, total wise to this point. Lisbon, though, is a program too that looking for their first win, but they've also been able to put points up against some significant teams this year. And you look at some guys that they got returning there too. Very good offensive line that they have returning, and a lot of young offensive linemen in Hunter Daly, Tyler Palmer, Ryan Preston is your one senior. But you look at Palmer as your junior, Daly as a sophomore. Those are your two guys that are going to be, I think, of the future for that offensive line, and a very good guy, senior fullback in Ryan Stauffer too. Gets the ball sometimes very good for those inside run attacks too, especially on goal line. And I think you'll see Lisbon try to utilize that a lot on East Palestine when you get in those short and goal or those first and goal scenarios. I think you might see them turn to Stauffer a lot. And if not, Stauffer very good as a lead block in front of any halfback that Lisbon wants to utilize.
Yeah, and watching the last couple games for East Palestine, I am so impressed with Bistarkey. You brought him up, but the effort level of his ability on both sides of the ball, I've seen him run down people several times and make touchdown saving tackles. I love the way he plays football, and I think he's going to come up big for East Palestine this week.
I think so as well. And honestly, what we see too from East Palestine, we talk about Bistarkey. Jesse Lipp, too, is another one of those guys, very young sophomore. I'm excited to see how his growth's going to be over the next few years, but I think Jesse Lipp is also one of those guys you got to watch out for. He's a dark horse candidate to have a game every night.
And you know what? I think, people could, obviously say, oh, East Palestine, they're struggling, and close-minded people are going to make them the brunt of some jokes, but you watch their game film and you watch their games, and what you can say about East Palestine is they play the right way. They're always giving effort. They're always there. They're always battling. And that's the only way you can do it when you're in a spot where East Palestine is right now. Their numbers are low. They know they're going into high hills every time they play a game, but they're not surrendering. They're just going to battle for Tony Foster, and I would go to battle for Tony Foster. DJ would absolutely go to battle for Tony Foster. He would speak for days on this show about the things that Tony Foster does for that program. We've had him on. He was the first guest that we had on this new era of Running Point, if I'm not mistaken. So I just love the way they play. I love the heart that they show. And this is a big opportunity for them to get their first win of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. As it's going to be a game I think a lot of people are going to have their eyes on, because it's huge for both of these programs. As we both know, what it would mean to both of these programs to get a win. As I think this is a game where emotions are going to be riding high, and I think it's going to be huge.
The emotions of this game too. East Palestine. I don't know when the last time they won an EOAC game was. I'd have to do some digging to find out that. That would be a huge win for them to get an EOAC win. And then you look at Lisbon, all that they're going through, they just need something positive. They need a win. So the emotions of this game, either way, you can't discount that.
No, and it's gonna be a feel good story, I think, either way, and that's what we love about it. It's there's gonna be some positivity in seeing one of these programs get that win and get some foundation bricks to lay on.
That's why we're making it one of the marquee matchups, because it is definitely a storyline. It's definitely something that is going to be good to look at and say, you got your first win. We're going to be talking about it on Monday. someone getting their first win, and who steps up, and who equals the X factor for their teams, and someone's going to be very happy on Saturday morning.
Yeah, absolutely, and we're excited to see it too, and we're excited to preview it and pick it too tomorrow, as well as you'll see our picks on the Friday edition of Running Point before we get you ready for all the games.
The last 2 weeks, you've got me fired up at the end of the show and made me have a really dramatic pick. More, I know you're going to do it this week too. So we have fun on Fridays. Don't miss that tomorrow from 12 to 2. But before we get there, we have one more matchup to kind of preview before we let this one go, and it is a battle of unbeatens. It is the Wyndham Bombers, and it is the Southeast Pirates going at it, both undefeated. How do you see this one shaping out?
Wyndham has been really impressive, and you got to give it to Chase I and, of course, Coach I, which we are excited to looking to get Coach I on the show tomorrow so we can get a little bit more of a preview on Wyndham. But Chase I, very, very great athlete, too, for this team. Wyatt Hansaw, too. McKylan Jones. There's a lot of great athletes on this team. And you know what? For D7, they returned a lot of starters from last year. 2-4 last year was their record, but you see what the improvements were this year. And Brandon McPherson will tell you that those improvements you can definitely see in the way that they practice and the way that they work. The biggest thing I think going into the Southeast match too, 5-0 Southeast versus 4-0 Wyndham, is that both these teams very, very similar in what they do offensively and defensively. Southeast scored 131 points this season. They gave up 55. Wyndham scored 124 points this season. They've given up 33. So, I mean, you see the differential very, very large for both teams. So you see how good their offense and defense has played. Biggest thing, though, interesting storyline, too, is that Southeast is a very big scoring team in the first and third quarter is where they score the most of their points. Doesn't score, drops off almost completely to nothing the second and the fourth quarter. Whether that's just been how they get the ball, where they get the ball, how they've been playing football, who's been playing them, and how they've been playing against them. If they've been playing kind of ball control and keep away with Southeast, that could have been the case, but scoring drops off. And when you look at where it picks up for Wyndham, it starts very high. They score a boatload in the first, tails off a little bit in the second, goes up in the third, and just kind of levels off. And they're very consistent in that second half and what we've seen scoring this year. And I think that's the biggest thing. You see scoring high in the first quarter, down in the second quarter. That could just be how they've been playing football too, where they have a little drop off in the second quarter because they just don't have the ball as much. But you see that consistent in the third and fourth quarter, and I think that's huge. And where we see a drop off in Southeast scoring in the fourth quarter, that consistency of scoring in the third and fourth might be what pays the dividends for Wyndham.
Of course, it might just be because Southeast was winning by so much in the fourth quarter, they didn't even need to score at that point.
It could be. But I mean, looking at what Southeast did too, schedule-wise, we'll bring up the score. I mean, there was some games that were big wins, but not all of them. Not all of them at all. I mean, Hillsdale was a 40-14 win. They beat Field 13-7. Champion 22-21 in overtime, and Rootstown 14-7. Akron North was a 42-6 win. So yeah, there was 2 games where they had significant wins, but 3 very close games, 3 games that were within a score. So this is a team that they tail off, and that's why these teams have been able to come back on them, is because the fourth quarter they kind of let it go and they can't keep the foot on the gas, and that might be where you see Wyndham take advantage.
They've been watching Frozen too much. They let it go way too much.
Yeah, and I mean that might be where Wyndham can take advantage of Southeast.
I'll let myself out. Oh, I couldn't resist. Jeez, I think Chase I is going to be an X factor in this one, and the quarterback play, the ability to score, the dynamicness of that offense, and the ability of him to protect the ball and lead his team.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's going to be huge for what they are going to be able to do and how successful they're going to be against this Ravenna Southeast football team, because we know what what Southeast has been able to do. They were building that program very well last year, and I mean doing a great
You
job
used to have them in the playoffs, right? You did their playoff matchup last year, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, no. I didn't do a playoff matchup. I did one of their matchups. I did their matchup with
you know what?
I think champion last year. I think
it
I
was
did.
it was one of those games that happened like after playoff was, you could play after week 6. That always confused me when I'm looking back at last year, because it was definitely after we had started the playoff push, but there were still teams that were playing regular season games, so you forget which ones are which. But yeah, you're right. It was definitely a regular season game, but it was during those playoff weeks.
And you got to remember, so we look at what Wyndham's schedule has been. Wyndham, obviously, Division 7, Southeast Division 5. So this is the highest division team other than Rootstown at the end of the season that Wyndham will play. So it's kind of a no-lose situation for Wyndham, because if you keep it close even and it's a defeat, you're still going to be ranked high in Division 7. But if you beat a Division 5 team, an undefeated Southeast Division 5 team, you're looking really good in the standings, I think, for the end of the season.
Right now, I believe Wyndham is sitting at 6 in Division 7. I want to say, if I saw it right.
I can look real quick at their. I mean, they have 3 wins over Region 25 Division 7 teams in Lisbon, Jackson, Milton, St. John's School, and Catholic Central. So I mean, Steubenville Central Catholic. I mean, so you're looking at those 3. Let me look at where they're at real quick. Wyndham is number 6, according to Joe Itel.
And then I think JFK is sitting at 8. So
yeah, JFK is 8. Lowville
Who saw that coming?
Lowville is 5.
If someone told you at the beginning of the season that in week 6, I know this isn't like we haven't hit the end of the season yet. In week 6, Wyndham would be ranked above JFK in the football computer polls. That would be just. It's amazing what they've done. It's hats off to Coach I, but we look forward to having Wyndham on YSN, and we look forward to this game, because I think this is a big way that Wyndham can plant that flag and cement themselves. A lot of people are saying, well, look at their schedule. They haven't played the great teams yet. Their record, other teams' record isn't great, but now all of a sudden you're playing an undefeated team. So you beat them, and all those naysayers kind of go to the wayside.
Not just an undefeated team, the ranked number 6 team in their region, in Division 5, Region 17 as well. The only teams ranked above them: Kirtland, South Range, Garrettsville, Garfield, Bel Air, and Sugar Creek, Garraway.
Oh, you said 16. You mean 6.
6. Yeah.
Okay.
Number Division 5, Region 17, they are ranked number 6. In the region. And I mean, ranked above Crestview, ranked above Jefferson. So I mean, this is a team in Southeast, Ravenna Southeast, that's a significant win. You're looking at beating a team that's ranked number 6 in their region. That's huge for Wyndham too, being a Division 7 team.
And right now, here comes a battle of 2 6 seeds. That's going to be an interesting storyline too. Wyndham 6 and 7, and Southeast 6 in Division 5. Yeah,
in their respective regions. Yeah, and it's going to be absolutely, I think, a big game for both of these teams too, to just see if they can. I mean, obviously too, you would expect a win for either of these teams is probably going to rank them a little bit higher too. Maybe not as much for Southeast. You might see them jump a spot, but Wyndham, a win over Southeast, you got to figure it puts them in the top 3. Then it has to put them in the top 3 in their region, I would think.
2 teams in Southeast and Wyndham that I think are surprising a lot of people with where they're at right now in week 6 too, in those polls.
Because you're looking at what the teams have, right? The teams that are ranked above them: 5-0 Lucas in the region. Independence is 4-1. Norwalk St. Paul is 5-0. Cuyahoga Heights is 3-1, and Lowville is 4-1. Wyndham wins this week, is 5-0. You have to jump them over those 2 one-loss teams, and I think you have to jump them over Lowville, because Lowville, I know their 1 loss is against a very good Springfield team at D6, but this is an undefeated Division 5 team, and I think that's a bigger win for Wyndham than it was a a bigger loss, I guess, for Lowville, or not as significant of a loss. I think an undefeated Wyndham team can definitely jump a Lowville in that region, as well as the other one-loss team that's above them in Cuyahoga Heights.
It'll be very interesting to kind of see how that goes. The game will be, unfortunately, it's not on YSN right now. It's not going to be covered. We're working on it to get that covered, but we're still going to talk about it on Running Point. We're still going to pick it tomorrow too. Right now, we're going to take our last break of the day and be back to wrap this show up on a Thursday edition of Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Jimmy Sugman here, Director of Isle, Purple Cat, and Golden String. We are happy to support YSN and two of my favorite people, Scotty Mincher and Super Dave O'Malley. We are an agency that provides services for adults with disabilities. We infuse humor, passion, and joy into their lives. If you know of any folks with disabilities that need our assistance, please contact us.
Your teams work hard and give it all they've got. Well, so does ours, because 21 Sports and YSN give you extra effort when covering local sports. 21 Sports and YSN, winning coverage of our Valley's teams.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Dealing with Medicare can be confusing and overwhelming. That's why here at Myers Family Insurance, we do our best to give you honest and caring answers to all of your questions. Family, like Medicare, isn't always perfect, but when you put others first, the results can be amazing.
Welcome back to Running Point on YSNLive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig alongside Mr. Ty Bartell. As we wrap up today's show, we want to give a special thank you to Coach Eric Simeon of the Boardman boys soccer team, the head coach, giving us some time to talk about their big win over Howland. We also want to thank Maggie Pavlansky, the newest member of the 1,000 Assist Club, making our Thursday grand, as you would say, with 1,000 assists. We want to thank them both for taking the time to join us today. I want to remind everybody that the Power Hour is going to be live from Austintown Fitch, and we will have another great edition of YSN Primetime live from Austintown Fitch as well. That will be from 5 to 6, Power Hour from 3 to 4. So tune in. DJ, Steve, Billy Mack, they'll all be there, and they'll talk to some coaches, some players, and break down this matchup in Fitch tonight. Well, Fitch tomorrow.
Yeah, and it'll be exciting too, because of course I'll be there too for a big matchup against the Massillon Washington.
Massillon Washington coming to town, coming to Austintown Fitch. It'll be a big one, and that's where prime time is this week. Some other things on the network tonight. We have 4 volleyball matches, I believe, greenlit on the network tonight. You have. Let me get this week. I'm going to be at Springfield as they host Jackson Milton. DJ going to be doing the game between East Palestine and Columbiana. Are you going to be at Louisville?
Possibly. We're looking at it right now. I'm waiting for a response right now to get clearance for it, and we will see if we will have Louisville and Austintown tonight.
we might be in Louisville for Austintown Fitch at Louisville. And also United will be at Lisbon. Rick Daly will have the call there. Some soccer also as Canton South will go to Waterloo. Howland going to Austintown Fitch. Ursuline and going to Hubbard. So some soccer as well. Once again, Beaver Local was scheduled to play tonight. They have moved their game because Oak Glen canceled. So Beaver Local playing tomorrow night against Lutheran East. Want to remind everybody about that in case they were gearing up for a game tonight. They canceled their game with Oak Glen and replaced it with Lutheran East tomorrow night. So they'll be on the Friday slate.
Yep, it'll be exciting to see too.
So coming up next is the Casual Sports Podcast from 2 to 3. Power Hour from 3 to 4, live from Austintown Fitch. And then YSN Prime Time tonight from 5 to 6. And then that'll lead you right into a handful of volleyball matches as well. Most first serves go on at about 7. So we own the evening on Thursday, and then we'll be back tomorrow with a bunch of stuff in the morning before we go on. Coaches' Corners and interviews that go live on our Facebook. We'll be here 12 to 2, and we'll have a great Friday pick'em. So until then, we're going on a 22-hour break, and we will see everybody tomorrow on the Friday afternoon edition of Running Point.